Hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC News, NBC News, and NBC Sports Radio station KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Tiki Live, Amazon Music, Podchaser, JioSaavn, Rumble, and more. And this is a show about hope and happiness. I am your hashtag positively opinionated host. And I am here because I'm on a happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And so I have topics and guests and series to that. And if you missed my fabulous interview yesterday with the number one most credits actress or actor on the planet alive today. You'll remember her as the mom from E.T., that classic show that launched Drew Barrymore. And she is so delightful. And she actually is a healer as well. She's been doing that for 30 years. And you have to watch that show because we both cry. And you know how I love making my guests cry. Yarona knows that because when tears are the disinfectant that keep our hearts soft. And it also shows me that your heart is open. So go to my YouTube channel, free subscribe. You'll get that show and this show in case you want to share, because today is a special day. It is my once a month at the last Wednesday of the month special series called Love, Loss, and Living with my co-host, Yarona Boster. She has more certifications. I think I have two co-hosts that have more certifications than I do. So it's wonderful to have that because their expertise is very appreciated. She knows loss well from a personal level to the professional arena, and she's developed wisdom beyond her years as a result. With 15 years in the world of early childhood, Yarona became an accomplished TEDx speaker, certified speaker coach, certified life coach, parenting coach, loss trauma informed coach, infertility advocate mentor, and more coach. Yarona takes a heart-centered approach in her coaching style. And if you're willing to trust the process and stay open to finding the best version of you that you want to be, Yarona will help you get that done. You can see her website is Footprints, and I'll switch that here, footprintscoaching.org. And welcome back to my studio, Yarona Boster. Good morning.
Good morning, my dear.
It was such a beautiful show we did last month. For those of you who have not seen it, it's a must-see for anyone who, I still don't want to use the word loss. It's the word we usually use when someone passes, but who has is adjusting to the physical body of that person not being here anymore. She had just watched her brother transition, and I had her come on, and instead of co-hosting, I wanted to be her coach for a change and do some grief coaching and just, that natural process of letting go of the physical and embracing the spiritual and that forever person that her brother is. And that was a beautiful, show, if I do say so myself, because I believe that when we are conscious about that process, then we will gain so much benefit from the presence of that person into our lives in a different form. So kudos to you, Yarona, for agreeing to do that. And it
was
was
hard, but it was
wonderful.
worth it.
Yes.
Hard, but worth it. And you know what? That's kind of how life is. Things are hard. The easy stuff is great, but the hard things, when you can accomplish those, there's a worthiness in those things that matters more than most things we do.
Yes, absolutely. And good morning to you, Ismael. Cortez is streaming in and identifying himself from Riverside. We actually have lots of eyeballs this morning. Thank you. Welcome for streaming in. I am live every weekday morning, rain or shine. It's, let's see. Rainy days and Wednesdays always get me up. Hashtag UP Unlimited Possibilities. It is a beautiful rainy day here in Southern California. How's the weather over where you are?
It's pretty good. It's a balmy 50, so it's nice.
You're on the East Coast, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I've got two co-hosts on the East Coast, two on the West Coast. And so it's really interesting how the weather is. So my mother's nature is saying, you don't believe in climate change? Well,
right.
Here you go.
Very
Here
weird.
you go. Exactly.
I'm expecting that there's probably going to be snow in April at some point here.
Yes.
Which was not a thing when I was growing up. So
yeah, interesting.
Thing, you know.
Interesting. Now you're in Florida?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Oh,
if I was in Florida expecting snow in April, that would be really awkward.
I actually experienced snow in Florida when I was a teenager. The week we decided to go to Disney World, it literally snowed at Disney World. It was, I don't remember the year, but I was, and I can't tell you because if I tell you how old I was, you'll figure out that I'm not ageless. So we're not going there. But it was stunning to have a snow in Florida. Thank you for that finger. Somebody just gave us a finger, not that finger, but this finger. Love having people chat and play along. So go to YouTube channel is my central show number 907. Can you forking believe it? And also LinkedIn as well as Facebook. All right. So let's have breakfast together. You know the drill. Ishmael, you can play along. What are you grateful for? We're going to take a bite of my gratitude sandwich for breakfast. Yarona, give it a start. What are you grateful for this morning?
Absolutely. I am grateful that I have a brace on that's holding me upright right now because of all my back issues. But this brace, man, it feels like a hug. So it kind of, it's nice, you know? I'm like, it's not just a brace, it's a little hug in the seat.
Yay. I'm grateful for a new hair dryer that my last hair dryer lasted 15 years. Whoa. So I got the same kind, Conair. I need to hit them up for an endorsement or a sponsorship. And that when it died, it sparked so big that I'm grateful that my hair did not catch on fire yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. That's two gratitudes. What's your gratitude?
I am actually, speaking of hair, I'm grateful that I'm going to get a haircut next week because I desperately need one. So I have a wonderful hairdresser that I've been seeing for a while now, and she would probably yell at you for not replacing your hairdryer sooner. She yells at me all the time about that.
Oh,
but she's awesome.
Well, I'm Chinese and I don't throw anything away unless it's really broken.
I hear that. Yep, I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
My mom would be like horrified if you bought a new hairdresser every 15 years. In fact.
Right. I am grateful that the young man who hit me in the front of my car accidentally just got his license in the mail that day, 18-year-old. So I'm grateful that his mom had really good insurance. So that's getting taken care of. Last gratitude.
Speaking of gratefulness and driving, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. I'm very grateful to be able to drive. I think like that sometimes we forget, and then I sit in the car and I'm just like, who gave me this vehicle to drive? Like what? And after so many years, I still get that way on occasion. Like, wow, there's something to be said for the skill and ability and allowance to operate a vehicle.
That is so cool because yesterday I did that gratitude and I haven't done that. So we're both on the same wavelength. I love to drive and I don't want to hear anything about Asian while driving from anyone in the chat. All right, we're going to go to the bottom of the bun. That is the gratitudes, 8 specific things you're grateful for outside of yourself on the top of the bun. And now we're going to go to the bottom of the bun. What do you appreciate about yourself? I want you to do this before you go to bed, because if you don't, you're more likely to think about all the things that went wrong in the day, what you didn't get done who wrong. And worst case scenario, you're death scrolling before you go to bed. And no wonder you can't fall asleep. So instead, I want you exercise your muscle of self-approval, self-love, self-care. You heard it from Dee yesterday. Self-love, the foundation of good mental health. So what do you like about yourself, Yarona?
I am grateful. I appreciate about myself that, and it's been repeated to me on and over again, that I actually look a lot younger than my age. This was a thing for both my parents. This is a thing for me, my sister. It's like, it's weird. We look younger than our age, and it surprises the daylights out of people when I tell them how old I am. So they're always shocked. I had somebody telling me like I was in my 20s the other day, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yes. I appreciate the same thing. Although we say jokingly for Asian women, or at least Chinese women, that we look 10 to 15 years younger, or even 20, 25 years younger until we hit like 70. And then we go straight to popo, which is bent over. And, but that's not true. But I appreciate that part of me as well. And I actually got, I don't know if hit on is too strong of a word, but I was appreciated by 3 young, attractive men in their early 20s these last 2 weeks. So I very much appreciate that.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Let's see. I appreciate about myself, you know, that when I do scroll, the things I love to scroll through are like the cat videos and the dog videos and the comedians and stuff like that. Anything that can bring a smile on my face, that's the thing I'm going to stick on if I'm scrolling. I'm going to be like, oh, this looks cute. This looks funny. This looks adorable. I'm going to awe here. So that's what I try really hard to stick to if I'm scrolling.
Absolutely. That's a Happy 88 tool of mine, actually, in my book, that says if you don't like what you're looking at, stop looking at it. If it pisses you off when you're scrolling, step away from the device unless you can choose to watch something that actually makes you smile and laugh. So 100% agree. I appreciate that I can pick out fun fashion. And this is actually my first, I'm speaking this afternoon, so I had to get dressed up a little more, but my first size small dress that I have bought in probably 15 years. And I've now passed the 35 pound, I'm 36 pounds down in a year. So I'm thrilled about that.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. You know, I've settled into my body, and I appreciate that about my body. Like I give a little bit of a yo-yo and stuff, but the thing that I appreciate is the recognition that I feel good when I'm strong in my body, not necessarily if there's something I can pinch or whatnot. It's really more about the strength. So I really like that.
We should have you on my Tuesday co-host. She's a fitness coach, and or vice versa. No, we'll have you on there first. Maybe we could come in. It would be a fun conversation too. All right. I am done with breakfast. I hope you have taken a bite of my gratitude sandwich with us. Thank you very much for playing along. The guarantee, the happiness guarantee is if you have a gratitude sandwich every single day, you will no doubt affect what's in the middle of your day in the most positive way. So thank you. Where's the applause? There we go. And now for today's topic. Yes. What are we talking about? Let's see what I said here. How important is autonomy in parenting? In the past generations, it's been my way or the highway. And because I said so, when it came to parental control, then we went to whatever you want, sweetheart, which also had just as many unintended consequences as the former approach. Today, we're going to learn about the importance of recognizing your own and your children's need for autonomy and control over their own bodies and their lives, balancing the sharing of wisdom you've gained, the knowledge you've picked up, and the experiences you've had with their need to explore for themselves and live their own lives and not yours. And this was a topic that Yarona picked, and I was excited to launch into. It's an important topic. If you're a parent, please share this stream now. I'm going to make sure that it is in the link tree so you can do that and take it away.
Yeah. So here's what's very interesting that I've found. There's a difference between independence and autonomy. Independence is doing things for yourself. Autonomy is, and that self-control is the ability to have the choice to do for yourself. There's a distinct difference there. For instance, if you are constantly the one picking out your kids' clothes, if you are the one constantly picking what they're going to eat for lunch and you're making that, if you're the one telling them where they should be going for school, which after school activities they should be doing, all of these things lend to removing their autonomy. And we do our children and ourselves a disservice because we all have that inner child that lives inside of us. It's the same person we were when we were young. There's no, it doesn't shift from being a child to being an adult. Guess what? Little secret here. We're still that child too. And we can probably remember with great clarity what our parents told us to do, how we were told to behave, how we were told what classes we needed to take, what we needed to do this, what grades we needed to get. All of these things in our lives were just a telling of things. What's important is that when we foster our children's autonomy, we don't just give them the ability to control their lives, which is an essential core need as a human being. It is one of the essential core human needs. We also can then create a level of mutual respect from the parent to the child and vice versa. And that is really important, being one human to another. I think about it like this. It is great that Connor can get himself dressed now because, we've given him the skills and the know-how to. What's even better is when he chooses what he wants to wear because he's making that choice for himself. It doesn't matter if it matches or it doesn't. Can I tell you, one day last summer, we were going to Barnes & Noble and he decided to wear his pajamas, a construction vest, a construction hat, and his Mickey slippers. And the only thing I said to him was, Connor, if you wear your Mickey slippers outside, you just can't wear them around our house because in our house, we don't wear shoes that are for the outdoors inside our home. We don't like to track things around. So outdoor shoes, stay outdoor shoes. And I said, can you get behind that? Otherwise, Mickey slippers you're going to be sad if you can't wear them around the house. He said, yeah, there'll be my outdoor slippers. I said, all right, let's go. We walked, we went to the Barnes & Noble. Oh, he was 4 at the time, so people appreciate when you're 4. Maybe a little less so if you're 40 and you're doing those same clothes. But the truth is that the younger we are, the younger a child has the ability to level up with their own autonomy, a decision-making process for themselves, as long as they aren't harming themselves or someone else, what that does is it builds their self-esteem. And then that becomes the most important foundation they live on, as opposed to living on the concerns of image esteem, what others think of them and how they perceive others seeing them. So autonomy is at the heart of parenting. The understanding that our children are not little shadows of us. They're not mini versions of us. They are their own individual human beings with their own decision-making process. It is so important.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the moose on the table on this one. I even though I'm ageless, I am of a different generation, I believe, or like a half a generation different than you. And so there is, your child is how old now?
5.
5. I have a 25 and a 23-year-old daughter. And talk about picking out clothes. My older one, at the age of 4, picked her first piece of clothing she picked out at the store. It was a t-shirt with huge letters, Drama Queen. That was her first. That should have been a little hint for me. And she's incredible. Graduated at Cornell. She picked that up. Was not me, Tiger Mom. Very strong, independent, sound. Didn't fall far from my tree. However, I'm going to put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of elephant in the room. I'm not disagreeing with the principle of autonomy. I am not disagreeing that absolutely we should not raise our children as mini me's and force them to do things that we didn't do because we're living through them. I think that is extremely unhealthy. However, and you triggered me when you said the truth is, because sometimes there is certain conditions, and you look at the news right now, there are young people who are suing because when they were 16, said, I know what I want. I want a gender sex change operation. I am not this gender. I want it. And full knowledge, understanding. And then 2 years later, I was, how could you let me do that? Why, you shouldn't have done that. I did it. I don't know. The sirens are agreeing. I didn't know. You should know that I didn't know what I was doing. Let me mute that for a second.
I'm going to talk about that. That is a really good elephant to put in the room. So, and this is where experience and knowledge comes into play. Autonomy, fostering your child's autonomy doesn't mean just let them willy-nilly make decisions. It means fostering it in steps and movements, with the understanding that you need to share with them your experience and your knowledge. That is really important. That's an important caveat. Your experience has given you a wealth of knowledge. Your learning has given you a wealth of knowledge of what you know and what you don't know. Exploration is great. Now, that said, what you just talked about is something that is extremely anecdotal, and the facts don't back up the anecdotes. Those things that are happening, those are very few and far between. If you look at it statistically speaking, it is such a minor percentage of kids who actually go through transition and then change their mind. And the way the newest work of gender affirming, and I didn't think we were going to go here, but let's go here. The way that gender affirming care is given in this day and age, it is given with such a long construct of a long timetable. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a son, I want to do this, let's do this. And the doctor says, okay, well, snip, snap, blah, 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 put you on all these hormones, etc. It is such a long, intensive process with a lot of therapy. Now, if a child, though, goes to the wrong doctor, somebody who doesn't have the evidence-based understanding of what they need to utilize those support systems and cuts through a back door, that's a different story. That's different.
And that's what gets
not
on the news. And that's what
right.
gets on the news. Yeah.
And those are the things that get sensationalized. This is the same situation as the sensationalization from when we were younger of kids being kidnapped. Suddenly, parents started parenting in a fear-based method because they would hear on the news these national news of televised situations of kids being kidnapped. And it made it feel like it was happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Same thing with airplane accidents, one airplane accident makes it feel like it's everywhere. And then suddenly people are freaking out and don't want to get on an airplane. But statistically speaking, we understand that with the evidence-based knowledge we have, with the statistics we have, with all of the facts on the table that we have, that is not what really happens. I know people who have gone through gender affirming care. I know people who are currently. I know people who have gone all over the place. It is such a long process. And as long as you are having the appropriate support from your family and the appropriate medical care, therapeutic and medical doctors and all of those things, it's long. They do not let just anybody go, I want this. So that becomes an echo chamber of problematic reporting. And I hate to say that that's a problem of our society, but it is the truth. With information everywhere, you can go down a rabbit hole finding information that suits your narrative.
Exactly. And that is a psychological phenomena, just even in regular things, right? If you, it's not, I'll believe it when I see it. It's, I will see it if I believe it. So that's Pygmalion effect, the strength of your BS, your belief systems can actually control the data that you see. So I agree, and thank you for that clarification. Now I'm going to put another moose on the table since we slaughtered that. We soothed that one off of the table. Another one is and you have a young child, and I hear the the talking and the allowing and the the patience, which is not in my vocabulary, and the reasoning and allowing the child to enhance their own decision making and all of that. I do get concerned, however, when I see parents who take that to an extreme, and they are so, it's like it takes an hour to reason with a 2-year-old because the 2-year-old does not have the reasoning capabilities. And the allowance that I see in airplanes, in restaurants, in stores, where there's a different kind of cry. There's a cry that is a true, my ears hurt, I'm scared in an airplane cry. And then there's the F you, you're not the boss of me. I can do whatever I want. Give me what I want. I'm going to have a tantrum and embarrass you until you give me what I want. And watching parents allow that as a reaction to how they were parented, which was my way or the highway. I don't care. Let me give you something to cry about. That also is not great.
No, it's not.
Absolute swing to the other side just absolutely drives. And my poor kids are just like, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, because I raised them, the first time they were bratty, right?
Mhm.
In that area. I didn't stand there and start talking to them
Oh,
about,
yeah.
yeah, well, let's think about our alternatives here and let's think about our decisions here. No, I took them, and I have to be grateful to my husband on this. He agreed, took them out of the restaurant
Mhm.
and went home and said,
Yeah, but that's a problem
this is
too.
not, that's not restaurant, that's not restaurant voice or behavior, whatever. And, there's a place that you
Mhm.
can express and be angry, but
Right.
that isn't it. And so it only took like 2 or 3 times and they got it.
Mhm.
And we
Uh,
didn't have that.
I'm
But
gonna address that because this
okay.
is this is really important. Okay. There is a difference between allowing your child autonomy, understanding that they are an autonomous person, and being overly permissive, or that what's called free range children.
Like free range eggs.
Well, recognize autonomy means accepting that they're going to make different choices from you. They're going to maybe choose a different career path. They're going to choose for themselves how they want to dress, their own aesthetic, what pleases them. They're going to choose what level of education they eventually need. But there's got to be a really big caveat on the but part, um, which is that we don't just let it go willy-nilly all over the place. There have to be home rules, house rules, etc. Like, for instance, my son, he can jump on our couch, that's fine. But he also understands that that's exclusive to our house. When he goes over to grandma, he can't just jump on her couch. When he goes to a friend's house, he has to find out what their rules are and stuff like that. He understands that autonomy doesn't mean just getting to do whatever you want. It means specifically making choices that are for yourself, right? But the moment your autonomous, your choices affect other people, you have to create greater awareness of what that effect does. Now, I'll tell you this is something that's really important. What you said about picking your kids up and taking them home. The problem with that is, let's say they don't care nearly as much as you do about wanting to eat a nice meal out. And so whatever, they didn't get, like, it doesn't matter to them. You wanted to eat out. Now they made a difficult choice for you. You took them out of the restaurant. They actually got a little bit of power in that circumstance, which is not really beneficial for a parent who says, I want to have a nice meal out with my family. Why can't I have a nice meal out with my family? I have met people over the years. I still remember this mom who said to me, she was in the shopping, she was in a food store, grocery store with her son. The cart was full. Her son had a massive meltdown tantrum, and she literally picked him up, left her full cart, and went home because she was near tears because she couldn't figure out how to handle his tantrum and continue and finish her shopping. That was more detrimental to her than to him in the moment. He wanted what he wanted. Yes, he didn't get what he wanted, which was a toy or whatever it was that was making him cry, the candy or whatever. But she also didn't get what she wanted in that circumstance, which was to finish her shopping. So that was beneficial to neither party. So one of the reasons why a lot of parents think this whole negotiating process with their kids works or is something that they need is because they want to still be able to get what they want. But the negotiation isn't working either effectively if you don't understand the why behind what's happening with your child's behavior and wait it out. If you are determined to finish, I've had this circumstance happen with me. I'm determined to finish my shopping. My son is not going to control the situation and get me to abandon my shopping. That is not okay with me. No, he's also not going to get the toy he wants. No, you have plenty of toys. So saying no is important, but also working through their process of that emotional response that they're having is important, just as important. So you have to do both. You have to do all of it.
But
And you
what
have to
about,
understand the why.
okay, so 2 things. I want to hear how you would diffuse that with your son.
Absolutely.
But the responsibility too to the people around you is also part of the equation, which I have to disagree that if you continue to allow your child to escalate, you are now affecting everybody else on the plane, everybody else in the store, and that is not okay.
Yes. Okay. So you're not allowing them to escalate because you are going to de-escalate the situation. And
Okay,
there
how?
are tactics to do that.
All right.
Okay. So it starts like this. I'll give you an example. Connor, one day we were walking to school and he tripped and his shoe went flying off of his foot and his little ankle twisted a little bit. So he went down onto the ground and he was like, oh, he started crying. At first I was like, okay, let's first check to see if he's actually in pain. So I went down on the ground with him and I was checking. I'm like, how does that feel, etc. Let's look at it. Okay. And now this is specific to Connor. I want everybody to understand something really important. You have to get to know what works and what doesn't work with your kid, because otherwise that escalation of crying on a plane is just going to keep going if you're using ineffective tools. So it's really individualized. You have to use specifically individualized tools that work for your child. And this is through trial and error. And you need to do it in a safer space and safer environments first to figure out what works and doesn't work. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm saying you're going to figure out how to de-escalate it faster. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in this circumstance, Connor was really upset because at first he was scared and it freaked him out. And he hurt his, he did twist his ankle. So we checked that out. I said, how does it feel? Let's wiggle it and everything. And while he was wiggling it, some of his tears calmed down. But then he says to me, Mommy, this day is ruined. We got to go home. I just need to go home. I can't do a day, which was hysterical, but I didn't laugh at him. And instead, I acknowledged what he had said. I said, I can see why this is really upsetting to you. You hurt your ankle. That got you scared. Tell me, what were you feeling right there? He told me, I was scared and a little embarrassed because people saw that happen and all this stuff, right? And then I talked through it and I said, well, here's the deal. If we were to go home, this is what would happen. This would not be a play day. Mommy has work to do. You wouldn't have a nice, fun day with Mommy. You would have a pretty boring day. And in fact, I would probably give you a little bit of like coloring homework to do and a little bit of this and a little bit of that to keep you occupied while I am working, because Mommy's not going to stop working just for you, for just to have a fun play day with you. I said, but if you get up and you brush yourself off and you get your shoe back on and you go into school, what could you have that would be great and fun today? And I didn't say, I didn't tell him his day would be fun. I had him tell me what would make his day fun at school. Now I got his brain to start thinking about all the fun he has at school, all the things he does that are enjoyable. I didn't ask him, would school be fun or not? Because of course he's going to say no, because in that moment he's feeling no. He's feeling like it's going to be a bad day. I got him to think about what would be fun about his day at school. And he started saying, well, I guess I get to see my friends and play with them. And we'd have our coloring time and our journal time and play on the park and play on the, and now he's thinking about the fun. And do you know how long this took me? Minutes, if that. His crying had stopped because we checked the problem. And he now got up and we went the rest of the way in and he went to school. What was hysterical in that moment too, I had no idea that the crossing guard was observing this the whole time. So when I walked back up, she looks at me, she goes, man, that was some high stakes negotiation skills. What I did was I de-escalated the situation with him. Mm-hmm. I have seen parents chase their kids around the yard to get them into school and physically carry them into the school. I have seen kids bawling their eyes out and their parents pulling them along. I didn't have to do any of that because I gave him the acknowledgement he needed and I helped redirect his attention to the good of the day. And again, this was specific to Connor. I knew that these were tactics that would work for him. Every parent has to figure that out with their kids.
And that ergo, that is one of the huge opportunities, because you're talking about your case, which you have done the trial and error, you have the patience, you have the groundwork and the foundation of that. And he's 5 now. Okay. And there are parents out there who maybe are hearing this for the first time and are the ones that have to use corporal law to get their children to do anything. How can they change from that to begin to move into what you're talking about, because a lot of parents don't have the time or the patience to do trial and error. I think that's one of the reasons why, My Way or the Highway is just faster, it's easier, and it was the way that was modeled for them.
Right.
So give me some practical, if you're a parent listening now going, okay, fine,
Right.
is it too late?
I want to
Because
address a
they're
couple of
also
things.
probably saying, she has a 5-year-old, that's fine for now, but she doesn't have multiple kids. She hasn't been with them for 20 years. That there's always that put the moose on the table of,
Sure.
who are you to tell me how to parent when you only have one child or a young child? And I want to just respond to that, Moose, is she has a lot of education. It's not just her experience, but her certifications, if you listen to the start of the show. So I'm just addressing that, Moose, right now.
All right. I want to address a couple of things. One, I ask parents this all the time. Zoom out. If you think you don't have the time now to do this and you want surface tips and tricks, your kid's going to be messed up. I'm sorry. This is what happens. Okay. Later in life, and guess what, everybody? I was a kid too. So I'm not just talking about this as a professional. I'm not just talking about this with my 15 years in the field of early childhood. I'm not just talking about this as a parent coach. I'm not just talking about this from a professional experience. I'm talking about my experience as a child of a Holocaust survivor, where we were very reactive in our home. Everything was super reactive. It was a horrible, it was a love-hate situation of scream, scream, scream until you don't scream anymore and everybody's going along happily. So I'm talking about the wealth of knowledge that I've accumulated over the years has to do with real world experience too. I don't want people to think, well, it's too late for my kid. It's never too late. And time, I hate when people say, I don't have time for that. Are you telling me you don't have the time to want to help your child develop into a healthy human being? Because if that's what you're telling me, then I'm going to call bullshitaki on you. Because that's not okay. If you're telling me that 5 minutes, and I'm not talking about doing these things every single day, all day long. Realistically, no one has the time to do things to dedicate themselves to their child all day long when they have a full-time job and they have home responsibilities and maybe caretaker responsibilities for your elderly parents and all of these things. I'm talking about finding the time in your day that would be 5 minutes, 5 minutes to make a change. Do you know, right now, my son is 5. We have a thing that we're doing because we want him to make a change when he's 6. We're setting it up now so he can change till he's 6. And it takes me 20 seconds to say this one thing to him. And my hope is that saying this to him every single day will get him to make that change when he turns 6. So I'm talking about be realistic. What is one thing you want to help your kid with? Work on that one thing. And then you can go to the next thing. I'm not talking about making a massive change to who you are and finding the time. It sounds like you make it like, oh, that means I have to be a dedicated full-time stay-at-home parent. Do you think I am? I'm not. My husband isn't either. What I'm saying is that time is a luxury you can't afford to waste when it comes to your child's development. If you want to stop generational trauma, if you want to stop mental health issues, if you want to stop kids from developing severe anxiety that spirals into the possibility of, I hate to say the word, suicide. If you want to stop all of those things from happening, you have to start small. Mm-hmm. Don't start and think you can change everything about your parenting skills. Start with one thing that you can manage. But the key is, don't go to parents who are parent experts who say, I've got tips and tricks, because tips and tricks, they're surface layer. You need to start by giving yourself more knowledge and awareness of what is underlying all of the things that create a human being. What creates a functional human being? Understanding where it comes from will give you a greater awareness of when your child is having a tantrum on the plane what is happening, checking yourself to figure out what's happening right now, what's happening with me, what's happening with my kid. Okay, what works with my kid, what doesn't work with my kid. Again, it's going to be different for every kid. You've got to figure that out. Now, am I saying I know this stuff? Yeah, I am. I do. But I'm also saying that you're going to learn what works and what doesn't work with your kid best.
So so I'm curious, what are the things that you're saying to him so that by age 6,
Oh
he's
yeah,
going,
this is the thing.
what are the
Okay.
words?
So we've had this thing going on specifically where he doesn't like to fall asleep on his own in his room anymore. Like things happened, COVID, all sorts of things changed the way we were previously putting him to bed. And it gave us, unfortunately, we fell back into a bad pattern. So we're in a bad cycle pattern where he is now insisting we stay in the room until he falls asleep. We don't stay in bed with him or anything like that. We stay in the room with him, and he listens to his stories and we just wait until he falls asleep and then we leave the room. We don't want to be doing that anymore. So the one little thing I keep telling him each night is, Connor, when you turn 6, we're going to give you a kiss goodnight. We're going to tuck you in and then you're going to have your stories and you're going to fall asleep all on your own. Isn't that exciting? And we make it this whole big thing and it's going to be wonderful and da, da, da. And I say slightly varied versions of this.
Okay,
And
I got it.
You
So
see what I'm saying?
you're setting the intention and bringing them along with that.
Yep.
Great comment here from my LinkedIn family. Glenn Edwards, if there's one thing a parent must do for their children is not lie.
Yeah.
So speak to that. And we are in the last final stretch, and I know you did want to introduce something for Advocacy Day, but go ahead, respond to
Okay.
that.
Yes, I agree, Glenn. I agree. Lying to your kids does not set them up for success. It absolutely sets them up for failure. But we do have to figure out how to explain something to our children. So something that Dr. Marissa knows very well is that we lost our cat, who my son felt like was a sibling to him. He used to drag her up everywhere. She was very old. She was 19. I decided, okay, how are we going to manage this? We're not going to lie to him and tell him that she went off to some farm or she needed to be with a family who was better, who needed her, or I don't know, she went to live with the doctor. He knew she was going to be gone. He knew she was leaving us and she wouldn't. And when he asked me, will she come back? I said, no, very simply. And we talked about his emotions behind that. That makes me sad, mommy. That hurts. Yeah, it does. We went through all of these pieces. We acknowledged the emotions. The thing about lying, one of the reasons why we feel the need to lie to our children is because we think it soothes the emotions that they're going through, or it soothes having to deal with a difficult situation. When we do that, we do them a disservice because then we don't allow them to process the emotions behind what's going on. So lying is one of the worst things we can do because it sets them up for unrealistic expectations, both emotionally and just, in their world around them. When we create a gentle awareness of what's going on, starting with a gentle awareness, then we can create harder awarenesses or give them the harder awarenesses, but we can do it in a gentle manner so that they start to understand that. And as they grow, it becomes more and more important to be truthful with them and to, no BS, no none of that. We just give them the truth and the unvarnished truth in the simplest of ways. I think sometimes we feel like we need to lie because also we're ashamed of things we've done. So I always say one of the things you can do best is own your mistakes with your kids, because that humanizes not just you, but the mistakes you've made. And it allows them to process that, oh, people make mistakes, but I can still keep living my life. I just need to learn from my mistakes to try to do better. And that's helpful because then they start feeling like they can live with the mistakes they make and they can be truthful, not just to themselves, but to other people as well. There's no need to lie when we own our truths.
Yes. So you have agreement, Glenn, from Yarona. I would just like to add a caveat, though, that I think, that you can't handle the truth or brutally honest truth. I don't think there's ever a time for that necessarily. That there are times, when to hold and when to fold, at what age or at what level of understanding do they need to be at before you tell them the truth. I will say that is my asterisk on truth, or on, you know, on the authentic. I have an issue sometimes with people who say I have to be authentic, which just means I'm going to tell you everything that I think about
Yeah,
you.
that's
With
not authentic.
brutally honest, I think that's bullshit hockey.
Yeah,
And thank you
no.
for using my term earlier. That was hilarious. But I do believe, and my final word on this is, yes, there are things that we uh, are as parents beholden to allow our kids to learn,
Mhm.
and you know, and share our experience, but at what age and at what time is very important. You just can't blurt you know,
Right.
your experiences at any time. There has to be that gauge also, which is know when to hold and when to fold. Also, I believe we're putting unfair pressure on ourselves if
Mm.
we want to fix every single thing that we got from our parents that we know was not healthy, because that's setting ourselves up to fail. We
Right.
just do better than our
Right.
parents did. My children will do better than I did. Their
Yes.
children will do better. So
Right.
for us to completely turn around
Oh, yeah.
what our parents did, because they did the best that they could with the time that they had and the resources they
Absolutely.
had. And I think back to what I was taught from one of my guests, Edwin Gaines. You know, your mother's job was to pop you out. The rest is gravy. So if she was able to pop you out, and that takes away all of that bitterness that we are, those
Mhm.
expectations that our parents should have been perfect. So that's
Yes.
my final word on that.
Yes, and
Um,
I would like to say one thing to that. I'm not talking about changing an all or nothing situation. I'm talking about finding balance, finding ways
yes.
to change small things, and small growth and small progress equates to larger growth and progress over time. But you can't be unrealistic with your expectations, and it's not an all or nothing situation. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I hope nobody got that from me. I don't think that people should change.
No.
I make I still make mistakes. I kid you not. And if you ever go to a parenting expert who says they don't, run away because it's not true. People make mistakes. We're human beings raising other human beings. But I think if we learn the why behind things, it can help us adjust a little bit better. Just a little bit better. It can help us manage things just a little bit better. And little things equate to bigger things in the end.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to nudge you over to something that
Yes.
you absolutely
Okay.
wanted me to
Yes, thank you so much.
wanted to
Okay,
cover.
so every year, so I work with the infertility world. The national Resolve is the National Infertility Association, and they are an amazing organization, nonprofit organization. They work in conjunction with ASRM, and every year we do Federal Advocacy Day, which is where we actually meet with our federal legislators and talk about the various issues and federal and legislation around infertility issues. So this year's Federal Advocacy Day is on Tuesday, April 25th. Anyone who lives anywhere in the United States can sign up to be an advocate. You do not have to have any advocacy experience. If you know somebody who's struggling with infertility, if you are struggling with infertility and you want to create a little bit of a place where you feel like you can gain a measure of control back in your life in a very helpless situation like infertility, which I experienced for 10 years, it is an amazing way to give back. So I would urge anybody to do it. We hold your hand through the entire way, and we will give you all the tools you need. And if you want to sign up, go to resolve.org and look on for the events on Advocacy Day and sign up to be an advocate. It's free and it's virtual. So you can do it right from your home.
Yeah, and there's your co-host right here, first up on the videos. So very easy navigating this. By the way, compliments to whoever did your site. You can register. There's lots of resources there. It is resolve.org, very easy again. So I encourage you to sign up for that. If you know anybody who is going through infertility, opportunities or fertility opportunities, as I always like to reword all of that, please do direct them there. And we are out of time. Glenn, thank you again. Quick, his comment here. I'm more along the line, if you don't eat your veggies, there will be no dessert. The child does not eat the veggies and the parents lets them eat the dessert anyways. The parent has lied. Okay, that's what he's
talking
talking
about that, Glenn, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We went through that maybe before you got on. But thank you so much for streaming in and being part of this really Moose on the Table. We did a lot of work today. Thank you, Yarona, for being a fabulous co-host as usual. You know the drill. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Tune in tomorrow with Straight Talk with Sam Works and Dr. Marissa. Now go and have the best day ever.